The power of silence begins. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you for a minute. I want you to understand something about silence because silence is loud. Silence speaks a language that words can't fake. When you stop talking to him, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop chasing clarity from someone who keeps you confused, that's when his true feelings finally show. Ladies and gentlemen, let me slow this thing down and really talk to you, because this right here is something a lot of people don't understand. Silence creates clarity. Distance removes confusion. When you stop talking to them, you're not being cold.
You're not being dramatic and you're not being weak. You're finally allowing the truth to breathe.
Too many people talk themselves out of the answers they already have. They keep explaining, keep asking, keep trying to fix something that isn't broken. It's just not real. See, confusion survives on noise. See, confusion survives on noise. As long as you're texting, calling, checking in, asking, what are we asking? Where do I stand? The situation stays cloudy. A man doesn't have to define anything when you're doing all the emotional work. Your words give him cover. Your patience gives him comfort. Your availability gives him options. But the moment you step back, the moment the noise stops, clarity has no choice but to show up. Silence forces honesty, not your honesty, his. Because now he has to sit with himself. He has to notice that you're not there filling the space. He has to feel the gap where your energy used to be. And that gap starts asking questions he can't ignore. Why isn't she calling? Why isn't she explaining? Why isn't she chasing? And that's when the truth starts pressing on him. When a man has real feelings, silence bothers him. It unsettles him. It disrupts his routine. He starts replaying conversations. He starts wondering if he messed up. He starts feeling the weight of losing access to you. That's clarity. That's emotion waking up. Real feelings don't stay calm when something valuable pulls away. They respond. But if the process feels easy to him, if your absence doesn't move him, if days go by and he's perfectly fine, then listen carefully. That's also clarity. Painful, yes, but clean, because confusion is exhausting. Pain, because confusion is exhausting. Truth, even when it hurts, sets you free. Silence removes the illusion that effort will magically appear if you just say the right thing. A lot of people think communication fixes everything. Let me tell you something. Communication only works when both people already care. You cannot communicate someone into valuing you. You cannot explain your way into being chosen. If someone's feelings are real, they don't need reminders. They don't. Why men notice when you stop talking need deadlines. They don't need speeches. They feel the shift immediately. Distance is not about punishment. Distance is about observation. When you step back, you get to see what someone does when you're not guiding the situation. Are they proactive? Are they intentional? Or are they only reacting to your effort all along? Silence answers questions that words never could. And here's the part most people miss. You're not just watching him, you're hearing yourself. When the noise stops, your intuition gets louder. You start noticing how tired you were, how anxious you felt waiting for replies, how often you questioned your own worth just to keep peace. Silence gives you clarity about him, but it also gives you clarity about you. Some people are afraid to stop talking because they think silence means losing control. But the truth is, silence is where you regain it. You stop negotiating your value. You stop overgiving to prove you're worthy. You stop chasing a connection that should be mutual. That's power, quiet power, and quiet power changes dynamics fast. When you stop talking, you stop filling in the blanks for him. You stop assuming good intentions. You stop saying, maybe he's busy or maybe he doesn't know how I feel. Silence removes the maybe. It replaces it with action or the lack of God. And both are answers. A man who truly feels something won't bother him. It will push him to act because clarity matters to him.
He doesn't want to lose you by misunderstanding. He doesn't want to lose you by misunderstanding. He doesn't want to gamble with something he values, so he steps forward. But a man who was only enjoying convenience will fade, and that hurts but it also reveals something important.
You were carrying the connection. Silence exposes imbalance, and imbalance is not love. Distance strips away fantasy. It removes hope that isn't backed by behavior. It shows you who someone is when they're not being entertained, reassured, or emotionally supported by you. And that version of them is the truth. Let me say this plainly. You don't owe anyone constant access to you. Your presence is not a guarantee. It's a privilege. And when you stop talking, you're not closing a door, you're opening your eyes. Silence isn't emptiness. It's information. It tells you whether yours value was felt or just enjoyed. It tells you whether your absence creates urgency or relief. And once you see that, what goes on in his mind when you pull back can move forward with clarity instead of confusion, because the loudest answers don't come from conversations that go in circles. They come when you step back and let someone reveal who they really are without you saying a word. Ladies and gentlemen, let me explain something that clears up a whole lot of confusion in relationships. Effort always reveals emotion, not words, not promises, not potential. Effort, because feelings don't live in conversations, they live in behavior. And when you stop talking to him, when you stop reminding him, when you stop checking in, that's when his effort tells the truth his mouth never could. See, anyone can talk. Talking is cheap. Talking is easy. Talking costs nothing. A man can say he cares, say he misses. You say he's busy right now, but things will be different later. Words sound good, especially when you want to believe them. But effort costs time. Effort costs pride. Effort costs intention. And a man only spends those things on what truly matters to him when you're always reaching out, always initiating, always keeping the connection alive. You're unknowingly doing his job for him. You're supplying the energy. You're supplying the momentum. And as long as you're doing that, his true level of emotion stays hidden, not because he's evil, but because he doesn't have to show it. Comfort makes people lazy. Availability makes people relax. But remove that, and effort, or the lack of it, steps into the spotlight. When you stop talking to Tim, you stop giving him emotional shortcuts. Now, if he feels something real, you'll see movement, you'll see initiative, you'll see him show up without being prompted. He won't need reminders. He won't wait for the perfect moment. He'll find a way, because people always find time for what they value. And let me be clear, this isn't about grand gestures. Real effort isn't loud, it's consistent. It's checking in without being asked. It's wanting clarity instead of avoiding it. It's making you feel secure instead of confused. When silence enters the picture, effort answers the question, does he want connection, or did he just enjoy convenience? A man who truly cares feels the silence as a loss, not a relief. He notices the absence, he feels the disruption, and that discomfort pushes him to act, not because he's scared of losing control, but because he doesn't want to lose you. That's what real emotion does. It motivates. But if it's his effort disappears, the moment you stop talking, that tells you something too. It tells you the connection was running on your fuel. It tells you he liked the tension, the validation, the emotional support, but not enough to maintain it on his own. And that's not love. That's silence versus chasing. The real difference, consumption. A lot of people get stuck thinking maybe he doesn't know how I feel. Let me tell you something. If a man enjoys your presence, he knows. If he values your energy, he knows. Men are not confused about what they want. They may delay, they may hesitate. They may avoid responsibility, but they are not clueless. Effort doesn't need a detailed explanation. It responds naturally to value. When you stop talking, effort becomes visible because excuses lose power. There's no one to blame, no mixed signals to hide behind. He either steps forward or he stays where he is, and both are answers. Now, here's the part that's hard to swallow. Sometimes you'll realize that what you thought was mutual interest was actually you overfunctioning, but you were carrying the emotional weight. You were keeping things alive. Silence exposes that imbalance. And imbalance is uncomfortable because it forces honesty. Effort doesn't rise when feelings are shallow. It only rises when emotion is deep enough to demand action. That's why silence works. It removes the illusion created by constant communication. It strips things down to intention. And listen, effort isn't about chasing you down. It's about clarity. A man with real feelings doesn't want ambiguity. He doesn't want guessing games. He doesn't want to lose ground. So he shows up. He communicates directly. He makes it known that you matter. Silence doesn't scare him. It activates him. But a man who is only halfway invested will drift, he'll assume. You'll be back. He'll think the door is still open. He won't feel urgency because urgency only exists when something is valuable, and realizing that hurts, but it's also freeing because now you're no longer waiting on potential. You're responding to reality. When you stop talking to him, you stop rescuing the connection. You stop responding to him of your worth. You let effort speak. And effort never lies. It may disappoint you, but it won't deceive you. This is why silence is not weakness. Silence is strength. It's you stepping out of the role of emotional manager C. You saying, I'm going to watch what you do when I stop making it easy. And what he does in that space tells you exactly where you stand, because love doesn't require constant maintenance from one side. Real feelings show up, they adjust, they reach, they invest. And when you remove your voice for a moment, his effort tells a story. Words never could. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about power. Real power in a relationship. Pulling back restores your power. And when I say that, I mean it in every sense of the word. Too many people think power in love is about how he realizes your value too late, control, about manipulation, about making someone feel jealous or insecure. That's not power, that's weakness. Pretending to be strength. Real power comes from knowing your worth, valuing your time, and refusing to be treated like an option. When you stop talking to him, you're not being petty or playing games. You're reclaiming your energy, your dignity, and your self-respect. And that shift changes everything.
You see, when you're constantly available, constantly explaining yourself, constantly validating his feelings, you're giving away your power without even realizing it. You're the one keeping the connection alive.
You're the one keeping the momentum going. And the sad truth is, when someone does and value what they have, they will take advantage of that energy. But the moment you pull back, the dynamic shifts. Now he's left with a gap. Now he has to consider his role in your life without you guiding him every step of the way. That's when true feelings start showing. Pulling back isn't about punishing him. It's about honoring yourself. It's about saying, I'm done carrying a weight that is mine to carry. When you stop being the emotional safety net, when you stop being the one always reaching out, you give him a chance to step up, or reveal that he doesn't care enough to do so. That gap, that absence is a mirror. It reflects reality, and it tells you everything you need to know about where you stand. People respond to boundaries, not demands. And when you create space, you're setting a standard, making it clear that your presence is earned, not expected. Here's the thing, a lot of women and men, too, don't understand. Your energy is magnetic. When you step back, you create a tension that can't be ignored. It's not manipulation. It's natural law. People are drawn to what they miss, what they've lost access to, and what requires effort to attain. That's why pulling back works. It makes him realize the value of your presence. Suddenly it's not about convenience. Suddenly it's not about taking you for granted. Suddenly he has to decide whether he's willing to invest or if he's comfortable with loss. And let me make this clear. Pulling back doesn't mean disappearing entirely. It doesn't mean ignoring someone for the sake of ego. It means stepping into your own life, fully living with confidence, focusing on your goals, enjoying your freedom, while letting him see the absence of constant attention. That absence speaks louder than any words ever could. It creates clarity for both of you. He sees what life is like without you making it easy for him, and you get tea. See if he's willing to rise to the occasion. Effort and intention reveal themselves naturally when you reclaim your power. Too often, women believe that being vulnerable or available equals being loved, but here's the truth. Vulnerability without reciprocity is draining. Availability, the mistake most women make after going silent, without respect is exhausting. Without respect is exhausting. Power isn't about hiding your feelings or pretending you don't care. It's about setting boundaries that protect your emotional energy and watching how someone responds. That response, or lack thereof, tells you more than any declaration ever could. It's in those moments of absence that character shows up. It's in those moments of silence that desire is revealed. It's in those moments of pulling back that power is restored. When you pull back, you also gain perspective. You stop overanalyzing texts, actions, and vague promises. You stop bending yourself into a shape that fits someone else's convenience. You see the relationship clearly for what it is, not what you wish it could be. That clarity is power because it allows you to make informed decisions about your future. You're no longer chasing illusions or filling in blanks with hope. You're responding to reality, and reality is honest. It's either mutual or it's not, and nothing exposes that better than distance and self-respect. And let's talk about attraction, because this is key. A woman who knows her worth, who respects herself enough to pull back when necessary, becomes irresistible, not because she's playing a game, but because she refuses to be anything less than value. Confidence is magnetic. Boundaries are magnetic. Self-respect is magnetic. Self-respect is magnetic. When a man senses that your attention isn't guaranteed, that your love and time are precious, he will either step up or fade, and that clarity is exactly what you've been waiting for. No more guessing, no more hopping. No more bending over backward for validation. That should never have been in question. Remember, power in a relationship isn't about domination. It's about balance. It's about balance. It's about mutual respect. When you stop talking, you're not shutting someone out. You're inviting them to meet you as an equal. You're allowing them to show their commitment, their consistency, and their care without you having to manipulate or demand it. And if they fail to respond, that's just as important a truth, because now you know exactly where you stand, and that knowledge is more valuable than any temporary attention ever could be. When you pull back, you also teach a lesson without saying a word. You teach that love is not automatic. You teach that respect is earned. You teach that your energy is not a given. People respond to standards, not desperation. When you step into your own power, the dynamic shifts. The man who truly values you will find ways to show it. The man who doesn't will reveal his priorities. Either way, you win because you've reclaimed control over your heart, your emotions, and your presence. When silence forces emotional truth, stop being the one who chases and started being the one who commands respect simply by being yourself. So understand this, ladies and gentlemen. Pulling back restores your power. It changes the relationship dynamic without a single argument, without drama, and without manipulation. Exposes intentions, reveals feelings, and clarifies reality. And most importantly, it reconnects you to your own self-worth, your dignity, and your freedom. When you step back, you give both of you a chance to see clearly, to act intentionally, and to respect the value of what you bring to the table. That is power, and it is unstoppable.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me take a moment to talk to you about consistency, because this is where the truth really shows up.
And relationships. Consistency is the ultimate test of real feelings, not words, not promises, not even grand gestures. Consistency. You see, anyone can talk a good game. Anyone can post sweet messages, make the occasional call, or show up when it's convenient. But real feelings don't disappear when life gets busy, when challenges arise, or when you stop making everything easy for him. Real feelings show up every day in a way that proves intent, effort, and sincerity. That is why when you stop talking to him, you see the truth thereof. Silence exposes the consistency or the lack thereof of someone's emotions. And it does it in a way that nothing else can. Consistency is not about perfection. Nobody is perfect. It's about reliability. It's about showing up when it matters, even when it's inconvenient. It's about making you a priority, not just when it's easy or fun, but when life gets complicated. A man with real feelings doesn't need constant reminders to care. He doesn't need you to chase him down or explain. You're worth every other day. His feelings show up in his actions. And when you step back, when you stop providing constant communication, that's when his actions or inactions become loud and undeniable. Consistency becomes the mirror reflecting his true intentions. You begin to see whether he values you or merely enjoys your presence. A lot of people get caught up in excuses. He's busy, he's stressed, he didn't mean it that way. And sure, life happens. But let me tell you something. Patterns always reveal truth. If he consistently disappears when things get difficult, if he consistently fails to make time for you, if he consistently leaves you guessing, that's not life. It's a choice. And consistency, or the lack of it, is a choice that tells you more than words ever could. That's why silence is so powerful. When you stop talking, you remove the distractions that mask inconsistency. You create a space where actions speak clearly. You allow reality to show itself in a way that excuses cannot cover up. Consistency also tests commitment. Love is not measured by why peace attracts respect, excitement, or fleeting passion. It's measured by reliability over time. It's shown in small repeated actions that build trust and security. When you stop talking, you give him the chance to demonstrate that he's committed, not just when it's convenient, but when it requires effort. A man who truly cares will rise to meet that standard. He will reach out, follow through, and act in ways that prove he values you. You don't need to ask for it. You don't need to chase it. Real feelings backed by consistency are self-evident. They shine through even when you step away and let silence test him. But let me warn you, consistency works both ways. Just as it reveals genuine love, it also exposes indifference. A man who only shows up sporadically, who only communicates when he wants something, who disappears under pressure or ignores your absence, reveals his true feelings through his inconsistent behavior. That inconsistency is not a reflection of circumstance. It's a reflection of priority, and recognizing that is liberating. It's painful, yes, but free. Edom and clarity often are. When you will stop talking and watch someone's patterns, you're no longer guessing, hoping, or rationalizing. You're observing the truth as it exists, and that truth gives you the power to make decisions that honor your self-respect. Consistency is also the measure of respect. When someone consistently values your time, your presence, and your emotions, that's respect. Respect is not a word. Respect is a pattern of action. When you stop talking, you remove the opportunities for lip service. You remove the ability to pretend. And what remains is either consistent care or clear deed, is regard. That clarity is invaluable because it teaches you who deserves your attention and who doesn't. You can stop trying to fix someone's behavior or chase someone's heart, because consistency or its absence does the work for you. It gives you answers without argument, without begging, without confusion. And here's what most people miss. Consistency breeds trust. You can feel safe with someone who is reliable. You can rest in their love when their actions repeatedly prove they are present. Silence highlights who can be trusted and who cannot. The man who truly loves you doesn't falter when you pull back. He doesn't disappear or give excuses. He shows up because his feelings are consistent. And that kind of reliability is rare. When you stop talking, you are not being distant or harsh. You are testing a fundamental truth. Can he be trusted to match his words with action? Can he honor your presence even when you're not constantly giving attention? Consistency answers that question definitively. The power of consistency also lies in self-education. When you stop talking, you learn a lot about what you're willing to accept. You learn about your own boundaries. You learn about your own boundaries, expectations for love and respect. And you get to see clearly whether someone aligns with that. Silence is the lens through which patterns become visible. And once patterns are visible, you no longer need to tolerate excuses, uncertainty, or neglect. You can make final wake-up message for strong women decisions grounded in truth, not hope. You can move toward relationships where consistency is a given, not a question. Finally, consistency shows whether feelings are unconditional or conditional. Real feelings do not vanish when the conditions change. Real feelings remain steady even when you pull back, even when you challenge them, even when life complicates. When you stop talking, you never know. The unconditional nature of someone's care. If it's conditional, you see it immediately. If it's real, you see it consistently reflected in their behavior. And that revelation is priceless because it separates illusions from reality, fleeting interest from genuine commitment, and distraction from true love. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you stop talking to him, consistency becomes the ultimate truth teller. It removes doubt, exposes intentions, clarifies feelings, and measures respect. Words can lie, promises can be broken, excuses can be made, but consistent action never lies. It always reflects what someone truly feels, and when you witness that consistency or the absence of it, you gain something far greater than temporary satisfaction. You gain clarity, freedom, and the power to choose love and attention that is authentic, style, and deserved. That is the lesson of consistency, and it is one of the most revealing and empowering truths in any relationship